Sweden is not supposed to be the one running this show. Look, you take a country the size of California, population smaller than New York City, and somehow every serious slug shooter on the planet is chasing a rifle stamped out of a factory in a little town called Mariestad. Here is the deal. Most guys think air rifle dominance comes down to marketing budgets and flashy electronics. It does not. While companies in the UK are stuffing lithium batteries and circuit boards into their guns, one stubborn Swede spent 30 years perfecting pure mechanical engineering. Regulators, plenums, barrels, everything machined in-house, everything tunable with your own two hands. And in 2026, 5 rifles are the reason Sweden still owns the top spot in the entire PCP world. Honestly, if you have not seen this lineup, you do not know what a real air hog looks like. We are starting at number 5, and this one alone is enough to make Bullpup haters eat their words. Moving on now, because Bullpups have always had a reputation problem, and this one's here to fix it. Under the shroud sits a piece of engineering most guys never even think about, the air pressure barrel system, or APB for short. Instead of hanging a fat air cylinder underneath the barrel like every other rifle out there, FX routes the barrel liner straight through the center of the pressurized tube itself. Picture running a garden hose through the middle of a steel pipe instead of taping it to the outside. That's what gives the Leopard its razor-thin profile. And it's also what keeps the barrel from whipping around when the hammer slaps the valve. Under the hood, FX tucked a 54cc power plenum directly into the buttstock. Look, squeezing that much air volume into a stock without turning the gun into a brick is not easy. That's the kind of packaging trick that separates a real engineering team from a company just bolting parts together. Highly compact, the tube version comes in 2 builds. The compact trim runs a 500mm barrel and stretches just 690mm overall. Call it 27 inches, nose to butt pad. Weight comes in at a feather-light 3.4 kilos, or about 7.5 pounds, thanks to a polymer and aluminum composite frame. Now, if you want more air on tap, the bottle version straps on a 480cc carbon fiber bottle and pushes total onboard capacity up to 890 cc's in the sniper configuration, running a 700mm barrel. That's serious ammunition for benchrest guys or pest controllers who need hundreds of shots without a refill. Spits 177, 22, 25 cal, and 30 cal lead through a wide rotary magazine, built to swallow slugs up to 13mm long. No jamming, no babying it. Up top, you get a 20 MOA Picatinny rail, integrated ARCA rail underneath, and a standard AR-15 UG1 pistol grip, so aftermarket furniture drops right on. But here's the truth, this is still a Bullpup. The trigger linkage runs a long path from your finger all the way back to the valve, and shooters coming from a traditional rifle stock will feel a slightly mushier break compared to a straight blowback design. It's not a deal breaker for most, but if you're used to a glass rod trigger, expect a short adjustment period. Still, wait until you see what's sitting at number 1, because compared to that monster, the Leopard's trigger feel is barely worth mentioning. Stepping up the power now, because number 4 is where things get serious for anyone chasing real hunting weight. Under that gorgeous laminate wood sits a plenum system FX calls the Magnum XL, and here's why it matters. A bigger plenum means a bigger reservoir of regulated air sitting right behind the valve, ready to dump in one massive burst the instant the hammer falls. Instead of the valve struggling to keep up with a heavy payload, that 156cc chamber floods the barrel with air, fast enough to push a heavy slug out the door with authority. Chambered across the board, spits 177, 22-25, cal 30 cal and 35 cal lead, making it the only rifle on this list that reaches all the way into true big bore territory. Throw a 93 grain slug down that 35 cal barrel at 600mm, and the King generates up to 173 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. That's not plinking power. That's stopping power. For real game. Well past the threshold of standard pest control and into medium game hunting territory. Feeding that plenum is a 480cc carbon fiber wrapped bottle, fillable up to 250 BAR. On the side of the action, dual-angled Weka precision gauges let you check both bottle pressure and plenum pressure at a glance, without ever breaking your shooting position to squint at a hidden dial. The stock itself comes from GRS out in Norway, hand-built and tool-free adjustable, so you can dial in cheek height and length of pull in seconds without ever touching an Allen wrench. Highly refined and dripping with old-world craftsmanship. Colorways like Nordic Wolf laminate and Green Mountain camo turn this into as much a showpiece as a tool. A tougher synthetic stock option is also available for guys who hunt in rough country and don't want to babysit fine wood grain. Now here's the truth. All that laminate wood and hand-fitted furniture comes with a price tag that'll make your wallet cry. We're talking $2,600 on the low end, climbing north of $4,000 depending on caliber and stock finish. Extra magazines for the big bore versions aren't cheap either, and neither is a replacement carbon bottle if you ever crack one. If you want king-level performance, you better be ready to pay king-level money. Sound off below if you've ever taken down game at 100 yards with a 30 cal slug gun, because the King was built exactly for guys like you. Entering the elite tier now. Number 3 is where FX threw out the rulebook on where the air tank even goes. Now sitting at number 3. And this is the rifle that completely rewrote what a PCP is supposed to look like. For decades, every serious air rifle had one dead giveaway: a big air cylinder hanging awkwardly below the barrel, throwing the whole balance forward and high. FX killed that look entirely with the air pressure barrel system. Under the hood, the barrel liner doesn't sit beside the air tank anymore. It runs straight through the dead center of it, like a bolt threaded through the core of a pipe. One solid, rigid unit instead of two separate tubes bolted side by side. No more barrel droop, no more harmonic whip when the hammer strikes the valve. Highly versatile. The Doctor's MKII lineup splits into 3 distinct builds for 2026, each one chasing a different customer. The Pro version bolts the APB action onto a genuine MDT Elite chassis, built for long-range competitors who want the geometry of a custom centerfire sniper rifle. This exact configuration put Chad Heckler on top of the podium at the 2025 RMAC Precision Marksman Challenge, walking away with $20,000 in prize money. The tactical version goes a different direction entirely, mimicking an AR-15 down to the mil-spec buffer tube, handguard, and grip. Running under 12 foot-pounds, it delivers an insane 250 shots per fill off its 210 cc's internal cylinder, a training tool built for close quarters work without burning through 5.56 brass. For 2026, a bottle version adds a rear-mounted carbon bottle, pushing total air capacity up to 760 cc's for extended heavy slug sessions. Then there's the classic, wrapping that same APB core in premium Manelli walnut or Sporter synthetic. Under 6 pounds and perfectly balanced, it throws 22 and 25 cal lead, just like a traditional rimfire Sporter, but hides a full amp MKII regulator underneath. Now, here's the truth about hiding an air tank around your barrel. Servicing it isn't as simple as a traditional side lever gun. If a seal ever needs replacing deep inside that APB tube, you're looking at a more involved teardown than your average PCP. And that's the trade-off for all this cleverness. Street price runs anywhere from around £829 for the tactical, up past $1,150 for a loaded Pro chassis. Real money, but still undercutting most boutique European tactical builds. Closer to the crown now. Number 2 took everything the competition builds and made it look like it's stuck in the last decade. Entering the elite tier fully now, because this rifle right here is the reason .22 rimfire shooters started switching sides. Panthera MKII completely abandons the traditional side-by-side cylinder layout. Under the hood sits something FX calls the dynamic block, paired with a plenum design that wraps directly around the barrel itself instead of sitting off to one side. Here's why that matters. When regulated air surrounds the barrel on all sides instead of dumping from one angle, harmonic vibration gets choked out almost completely. Less muzzle jump, less barrel whip, and shot after shot landing in nearly the same hole. That plenum runs 62 cc's on the 500mm barrel option, or a much bigger 156 cc's on the 600 and 700mm versions, built specifically to keep up with heavy, high BC slugs at extreme range. The front stock is machined from a single billet of aluminum, clamped to the dynamic block at multiple anchor points, killing any flex when you lean hard into a barricade during a match. A 30 MOA Picatinny rail is baked directly into that front stock with alignment pins, because at 150 to 300 yards, standard scopes run out of elevation adjustment fast on a dropping slug. That built-in cant keeps your optics lens system centered where it belongs. Under the hood, literally inside that integrated ARCA rail and M-lock channel, there are dedicated slots for tungsten or brass weights, letting competitors balance the rifle perfectly on a bipod or shooting bag until muzzle jump nearly disappears entirely, letting you track your own hit through the scope. Spitz 177, 22, 25 cal and 30 cal lead, and runs a quick-set trigger that flips between three distinct configurations: PRS, hunting, or benchrest, with a single screw adjustment. But here's the truth. All that competition-grade machining doesn't come cheap on the aesthetic side either. The matte, function-first finish feels a little clinical and stripped down compared to something like the King's hand-fitted laminate wood. If you're buying this for its looks rather than its numbers on paper, it might feel a bit sterile sitting next to the more traditional builds on this list. Sets you back somewhere around 1,600 to 1,873 pounds, give or take, depending on caliber and configuration. Roughly $2,000 to $2,400. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but a rifle that shoots straight back recoil like a rimfire with this kind of adjustability has no business being this good. Closer to the crown than ever now, but wait until you see the absolute slug-slinging monster sitting at number 1. Here it is, the crown. The rifle every other name on this list gets measured against. Under the hood sits a power plenum built to a massive 75 cc's, paired with the FX power block for maximum flow. Here's why that number matters. A bigger plenum means more regulated air sitting on standby, ready to slam through the valve the instant the hammer drops. And that's exactly what lets this rifle push a 35 cal slug out past 135 foot-pounds, territory that starts creeping into pistol caliber firearm energy. Highly modular, the entire action swaps between 177, 22, 25 cal, 30 cal, and 35 cal, just by changing barrel liners, pellet probes, and magazines. Barrel length options run 500 millimeters compact, 600 standard, 700 sniper, and 800 extended. One action, 5 calibers, 4 barrel lengths. Nothing else on this list touches that kind of range. The magazine got a full redesign for this generation too, built from wear-resistant material with a reworked internal drum that spins smooth even when it's stacked with the longest, heaviest slugs on the market, up to 28 rounds deep depending on caliber. Now let's talk about why this one takes the throne over everything you've already seen. It hands you the same brute force potential as number 4's King. Remember that 173 foot-pound big bore number, but without locking you into one fixed caliber and a heavy laminate stock that costs you flexibility. And it delivers regulator consistency that puts number 2's Panthera to shame, because instead of wrapping that air volume around the barrel purely for harmonic control, This rifle dedicates the entire 75cc plenum to raw, tunable output across every caliber it runs. The quick-set trigger lets you flip between a safe, deliberate hunting pull and a razor-sharp match trigger with a single screw. No third-party trigger group, no gunsmith required. And the quick tune system on the hammer spring means you can drop this rifle down under 12 foot-pounds for quiet backyard plinking, then crank it back up to full hunting power in a matter of minutes. Here's the truth. None of this comes cheap. Sets you back anywhere from $2,200 to $2,500 depending on configuration, or up around $3,000 Canadian on the high end. And that's before you start buying extra barrel liners for every caliber swap. Proprietary fill probes and multiple magazine sets for 5 different calibers will drain your wallet fast if you're chasing the full modular experience. But dollar for dollar, nothing else on this list gives you this much control over your own ballistics. Sweden didn't get here by accident. 5 rifles, 5 completely different jobs. From the Leopard tucking a full plenum into a buttstock, to the King throwing 35 cal slugs with hunting rifle grace, to the Panthera choking out harmonics for the PRS crowd, to the DRS hiding a full air tank inside its own barrel, all the way up to the Impact M4 sitting at the top as the one rifle that does it all. Here's the truth. While other countries are betting on circuit boards and batteries that die in the cold, Mariestad is still betting on steel, regulators, and guys who know how to turn a wrench. That's the list. That's why Sweden still wears the crown. Keep your air tanks full, and I will see you downrange.